I got the timer here, 10 minutes. See, I'm going to start doing this for, the bot
Yeah,
too.
it
All
would
right.
be necessary, I guess.
Sometimes. Okay. So take it away. Thanks, Grace.
Thanks to you, Rob. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Grace Alchini, and the topic of my talk today is related to collaborative learning. Based on my experience, I would like to share some tips to make collaborative learning activities work in your classroom. For those of you who perhaps are not that familiar with collaborative learning, I would like to start by giving the definition by the two brothers, David and Roger Johnson, who introduced this concept. And well, I will read it to you. Collaborative learning is a system of carefully designed interactions that organizes and leads to reciprocal influence among the members of a team. And well, you can see that I have underlined a couple of phrases there: carefully designed and reciprocal influence, because I think these are key factors in the success of a collaborative activity. If I have to explain collaborative learning in my own words, I would say that collaborative learning is not really having, for example, 4 students working together, and perhaps having one student do most of the task and the others doing little or nothing. The teacher has to carefully design the activity so that this activity can lead to a common goal. And there must be a specific responsibility for each member, a very clear responsibility, and everybody's share of the work is necessary to get a final result. Yeah, this is key in having success when you implement a collaborative activity or collaborative learning in general in your classes. So before I get into the tips section, I would like to talk a little bit about the benefits of collaborative learning, why we should be including it in our classes, in our English classes. And the first one is that we can combine the development of language skills, which is what we as teachers of English want to get, yeah, and also the development of personal and interpersonal competencies, which is our aim as educators. Of course, we have active participation by the students, which means that there will be deep involvement and commitment. Knowledge will be constructed through interaction in a social context, which leads to deeper understanding. There is a focus on cooperation, so there is no real competition, but cooperation and collaboration. Working in small groups, students have more chances to speak, and therefore we develop not only collaboration, but also communication, 2 of the 4 C's. And we also help students develop more heterogeneous relationships, developing empathy and self-esteem. When we have, for example, very shy students, they feel more confident working in a small group when perhaps they wouldn't dare talk to a big audience. And well, also collaborative learning activities resemble real life social and work situations. So these are very good reasons why you should include collaborative learning in your classes. Now, here come some of the tips. The first one is for all those teachers, I think most of the teachers now who are dealing with online learning, online teaching, and the tip is, do use collaborative learning in your classes. Yeah, we know that when we teach online, we shouldn't focus only on the use of technology, that is a detail, but mostly on the pedagogy. And we cannot have students just doing some interactivity with materials and a little interaction with the teacher. We should have students interacting with each other, not only during the session, but also outside the virtual classroom. Because this creates motivation, engagement, and gives this feeling of belonging to a community that is sometimes and most of the times naturally absent in online learning if we do not enforce this. As a teacher, well, you have to know that you have to plan and prepare your lessons very carefully so as to take into account all these elements that will make every single member of the group really work, and not just idle. So, well, even though the participants in the class, in the group, are the protagonists of the activity, that doesn't mean that teachers are going to do less work. Believe me that it's not the case. We have to plan and prepare, and during the session, we must monitor our students' performance. That is to say, getting into the breakout rooms, if it's online, if it is face-to-face, well, walking around the classroom, not just sitting there and doing nothing, trying to listen to what students are saying and doing, the way they are behaving as group members, and provide them with feedback after the activity, not interrupting them, perhaps participating as one more group member, giving an opinion or something, sitting with them when we can do it, now with all the measures because of the pandemic. But well, providing them with guidance and feedback afterwards. How can we make sure that everyone has something to do? That is very important. And well, we have to make everyone necessary. So this can be done by the use of materials, for example, introducing some kind of jigsaw activity where one student, for example, is going to have part of a text, and then they will need, this student will need the rest of the members of the group to talk about their parts so as to have a complete picture. Also introducing roles, for example, if students are preparing a presentation, they can, for example, one of them can be the designer, preparing the visuals for the presentation. Another one can be in charge of checking the language that is going to be used. Someone else can be in charge of looking for sources of information. When I say being in charge, this doesn't mean that these students will have to do the complete task, for example, do the complete design of the presentation, but be in charge of having everyone collaborate, and coordinate the actions of the rest of the members of the team. And of course, we also have external threats, which sounds a bit cruel, but this is something like grades, for example. If all students want to have a good grade, everybody will have to work. Another very important resource that we have is timing. You have to give the students the right time to do the activity. If the activity is very simple and you give students a very long period of time, that is going to have them waste time and perhaps just have one student doing the complete job. And again, another thing that is very important is to have the right number of students. If the activity is rather complex, well, you can have several students, but if it's very simple, it is a better idea to have just a couple of students working together, or perhaps 3, so that everybody really has to work. You can also make use of different types of groups. We have three types of groups in collaborative learning: formal, informal, and base. We usually think about formal groups, which are groups that are formed to carry out a certain activity that will be covered in one session or 2 perhaps, or perhaps a week. But we can also have informal groups, that is to say those groups that have an activity to be done in 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, perhaps brainstorming ideas, or perhaps even related to pair work. Pair work is also collaborative, in which perhaps they have to solve something simple as a grammar exercise, or perhaps a reading comprehension text. And also you can think about including base groups. These are permanent groups. And these permanent groups perhaps won't do activities during the sessions, during the classes, but they will act as a support team. Yeah, that is to say, if one student is having problems understanding something or perhaps misses one class, he or she can resort to the other members of the group to ask for support. Yeah, so the idea is to create this type of exchange, of interaction, creating a community. Also, it's a good idea to mix your students, yeah, all the time, and don't allow them, please, to form their own groups. Perhaps you can do this exceptionally, but it is a good idea to have them mix all the time. If possible, we'll have everybody work with someone different along the course, so that they get to know their partners, and apart from that, they get used to this idea that, well, we have to collaborate and be ready to collaborate with everyone. Also, try to create the right conditions. This is especially true when we think about the classroom, the physical classroom, and we want to have students collaborate. And well, perhaps this is not applicable now because of the pandemic, but to have them face to face, perhaps at a distance, but try to avoid the situation in which students are sitting perhaps in a row, yeah, and they don't see each other, because you don't create the atmosphere of a group. And finally, well, deal with resistance, because you may have resistance from students at the beginning because of their own fears. Yeah, if you're applying this for the first time, well, this could be something that scares them. Sometimes because of distrust, you can find students that want to work on their own because they believe they can be much better than the rest of the group. And also prejudice, because sometimes they don't like a student and they don't want to work with that person. And the right thing to do here is to guide them, to let them understand, to work with them, to let them know that that is real life. Yeah, sometimes you have to work with people that you don't like or who are not your friends, and you don't have to become friends in the end. It's just working together. So in general, I would say no changes to the formation of the group unless it is absolutely necessary, yeah, that you have a very chaotic situation. The idea is that they learn to collaborate with each other, whatever the circumstances. Okay, so thank you very much for letting me share these ideas. Thank you, Rob.